Welcome to the Minnesota School of Botanical Art Autumn Leaves class, and aren't they beautiful this year? I picked up this leaf at the Minnehaha Park, just about a block away from the school. There's so many beautiful trees in the park, but it is hard to choose which one. But I like that this had the colors of gold and orange in it, and the fine detail of the tip with its slightly starting to decay leaf tip. I first did a tracing of this leaf and then transferred it onto my watercolor paper. Because it's flat, tracing is just fine. I didn't want to take the time to draw this time. This is the fun stage, putting down those first colors. I'm using lemon yellow first and then some cadmium red, adding a few purples in the shadows, putting a line just along where the main veins are in the center vein. And always comparing to the original leaf, which by now is all shriveled up and dried. The color has changed. I'll have to use my color memory and also a photograph that I took of this earlier to use for reference. I'm holding the leaf in my left hand. I like to keep both hands moving, both hands engaged, and so that helps me. I'm starting to put down more of the color in a little deeper mixture. So at this point, I'm painting in between each of the veins and leaving some white space of the vein. Now the veins will look awkward at this point, but that's okay. We will go in and clean those up as we get more and more pigment down on the painting. I'm not intending to get too dark here, but I do want to make a noticeable change in the color value. Again, I'm using red at this point, the cadmium red, over the yellows, keeping distance again between the veins, sort of sneaking up to them, and just adding color, trying to create some interesting complexity. I will keep building up layers of this complex color, working at this point with just the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue on both the warm and the cool sides. I am constantly checking back at the colors that I see in that leaf and trying to replicate them, maybe not exactly, but as closely as I can. Here's a quick close-up to show you the difference between the first layers and the second layers. Here I'm starting to spot color in. There are bits of pale green in this area, so I've taken some May green, and or you can mix it from the yellow and your blues, and I'm just dabbing it on where I see this. And I'll do that around the painting. Where I see places that are more yellow, I'll add that. Where I see things that are more red, I'll add that. Just at this point, really spotting color to remember where it is and to again work on that everlasting goal of creating complex color. I'm starting to define that center vein, but again laying in heavier color, coming up against the other secondary veins as well, leaving space in between them. I soften colors as I go with just a little water. This takes time, patience. Cleaning up edges is important. You don't want ragged edges unless the subject is ragged on the edge, and in some places this is. Deepening colors by just tapping in a little more color and softening. Taking time to observe the subject and then going back and putting on some pigment. I'm not expecting perfection at this stage at all. It is just a time of playing with color, building it up, and stopping to look, observe. I'm lifting a little color now using a damp brush. And then I also might take and dab it with a paper towel at this point to draw up any excess liquid. Strengthening again the colors of the greens that I see. This is a several layer process, as you know. I'm laying down a little clean water in this area between two veins. Just wanting it to soak into the paper slightly and become looking sort of matte. Now I'll add in some color, light color, another layer of light color, thinking about the form that I want to create in this area between the two veins. And then dropping in some stronger color, being brave with color. I think you can start to see the form starting in this section between the two veins. I put in some red, that was alizarin crimson, deepening color as we go, but also trying to maintain some light areas where the area between the two veins lifts up slightly. Here I have taken a picture of in black and white of the same image to show you how I'm just checking values at that point. So merrily we paint along, again going back and looking for the lightest, palest colors in our subject, putting those colors down first. We'll get to the darks later, gradually. Again putting down some just water to wet the area. Now adding some color where I see it. There's gold under those reds, so I'll put that down first. Blending to soften areas. Just a little bit of water, not much. And then going in and along the veins one more time. So at this point, it's just a continuation of the same. Adding up layers of colors, playing with it, starting light, knowing I'm going to get into those deeper, stronger colors later, and having fun with it. Really checking the specimen, don't just paint along. Go back and look at your specimen and see what the colors are and put them down where they are on your painting. Doesn't have to be exact, but the better you observe, the better your painting will be in the end. It is all about close observation. In this video, I'm going to work up just half of the leaf to a point of near finishing but not completed so that I can use it as a demonstration in class. The one half of the leaf that's just partially finished, I'll also be using as demonstration in the class. As I get into more of the middle tones, I start to get very dry. I've mixed up some various shades of colors that I see in the leaf on a plate, and I'm picking them up with a barely damp brush and dropping them in with little brush strokes. Also, I'm working on the veins, defining them a little more, using dry brush to do that as well. Okay, it's time to get brave with that color and turn your nice soft values into something that's quite, well, just not very pleasing. But you need to do this in order to create beauty in the painting. So you're going to put it down a lot stronger than you feel comfortable with, and you're going to soften areas with water. I'd suggest working in between each of the secondary veins as you do this. Have colors mixed up, have clean water ready to go, and get in there and just have at it. I'm using my cool lemon yellow, but with quite a bit of pigment. I'm letting that dry. I'm also adding quinacridone gold to this in areas. Here I'm dampen the area between the veins and then add that pigment and smush it around. This is not a time to sit back and think. It's a time of just getting in there and doing. These are the colors that I'm using to get darker fast. You can see that the pigments on the plate are quite heavy, and then in the smaller dish I have some pigments mixed up to the consistency of cream. And you can see here the effect that this has. It is sort of frightening putting those colors down, but remember, it is just paper. I'm adding some darker colors here to alongside of the veins and just sort of smoothing things out. I'll also be going that in and lifting some color, referencing my photograph to see where those darks are. And I'm actually emphasizing them more than the photograph. As this leaf sat on my painting table, it got darker, and I liked some of the colors that were in it, so I made the decision to go ahead and add those. I'm painting with a much smaller brush at this point and painting much more dry. Some of the strokes are little hatch marks in the dark areas. Some are little lines. For the little tinier veins, I'm putting a line down and then softening it with watercolor next to that. These are techniques that we'll be going through in class. I'm deepening color, putting down pure cadmium red, pure alizarin crimson, pure gold and yellows. Cleaning up edges, lifting color in some areas to create more dimension, adding brush strokes to create the texture that I see in the leaf. I'm taking a fairly large brush with water in it. Not too much, but some. I'm wanting to lift that color up in areas so that the area in between the two veins is not completely flat. So I will work that carefully, softening the edge. I also go in and clean up the areas by the veins. Okay, this is where I'm going to stop with this painting. There are lots of things that need to be fixed on it, so it'll be great for demonstrating. Thanks for watching.